Welcome back to Cooking with Undidi. Today I'm going to make some homemade buttermilk pancakes. I think I've done cinnamon buttermilk pancakes maybe some years ago, but it's been a minute. Well, I'm going to make just some regular homemade buttermilk pancakes. Today is my baby's birthday and I'm making him a big birthday breakfast. So we'll have homemade buttermilk pancakes, some sausage, and hash brown. Ready to get in the kitchen with me and learn how to do this? Let's go.
All right, as always, the recipe is in the description of this video. You want to start with your flour. I use 2 1/2 cups of self-rising white lily flour. And no, this video is not sponsored by any of the products I'm using. Next, you want to use your baking powder. Make sure it's fresh. Check the date on that. And then I'm using some kosher salt, imperial sugar is what I generally use. And I like my pancakes with a little sweetness, so I use 3 tablespoons of granulated sugar, about a 1/2 teaspoon of some baking soda. And then you take your little whisk and work it well so that it's well incorporated. Next, you take 2 large eggs, break it into a bowl, give it a little whisk. And I normally use full fat buttermilk, but the store didn't have any. So I'm using 1 cup of buttermilk and 1 cup of whole milk. And then you add in your eggs, give it a little stir. You notice I'm not using an electric mixer or stand mixer. You just use your regular hand utensils. All right. That was just a little drop of milk, but it was actually 1 cup of whole white milk. And then I use 1 1/2 teaspoon of some vanilla flavoring. Give it a little whisk with your whisk. And the reason I'm not using an electric mixer is because then you can overmix it and your pancakes might end up tough or flat. So I like to use a hand whisk to get most of the lumps out. And I like my pancakes nice and fluffy. I'm adding about 2 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter. And again, you can look in the description for the exact recipe. All right, my griddle has been heated up on 375. I rubbed it down with some unsalted butter. And to be honest, I have not used this griddle in about at least 1.5 years. So I have to get reacquainted with it. You let your pancakes rise just a little bit. You see the bubbles there? Turn it over. And like I said, I'm still getting acquainted with this griddle. So I could have flipped them over earlier. This was probably about 5 minutes. And it's a little too dark. And I could have very well edited this out. But then that wouldn't be honest and true of what happens when you're cooking at home for your family. So about each side, roughly 3 minutes. Rub your grill down with butter. And don't really stick to the time. Just pay attention and watch your pancakes. When you start seeing the bubbles, do not wait and let them pop. But when you start seeing the bubbles, that's the sign that I use that it's time to flip them over. You see those bubbles? That's what I'm talking about. For some reason, my video cut off. This is my second batch. You notice I only have 3 pancakes now on the griddle because the first one was overcrowded. But these pancakes smell good. They're nice and thick and fluffy the way my family enjoys them. And they're so thick and fluffy that each person is going to get about 2. I'm only going to eat 1. I don't eat that much, so 1 is enough for me. So this recipe yields about 7 pancakes. I served it with some smoked link sausage, hash browns, I'm using just some regular syrup. I was out of my maple syrup. You see how fluffy it is when I'm cutting it? And this is actually my son's plate that I made for him. And he thought I was just using it for the video. And I took a bite. He said, hey, you didn't tell me you were going to take a bite. But when I tell you these pancakes are delicious, you have to try it. Thanks for watching. Peace.